G'day everyone, welcome back for another one. Today I've got something a little bit different. As you know, if you've seen my stock pot refining videos, I've got the sediment left over, and I think I've kept you guys hanging long enough to see what's in there. I've been delaying the rest of this because I don't know what I'm doing with this last bit. I've never done this before. What I mean by that is I'm going to make copper sulfate. I've never made copper sulfate before. I'll show you why I'm going to make copper sulfate. This is what I've got left over. It's the sediment, and I know it looks like a lot of gold and other things, but there's mostly copper. The reason why there's so much copper in there is because, as I mentioned when I was doing the stock pot refine, when I get to the end of my stock pot 2 and I'm left with all the copper, I've been putting it back into my stock pot 1, knowing it contains other precious metals that I don't yet know how to do, like palladium and all that. And I assumed a lot of it would dissolve, but it hasn't. So I'm left with quite a bit of copper there. Now, there's two ways that I can dissolve that copper and get my precious metals that I know of. One of them is with nitric acid, which would make copper nitrate. I have no use for copper nitrate. The other one is with sulfuric acid, that would make copper sulfate. I do need copper sulfate because with copper sulfate I can make copper as, which I would use then to drop gold. So I'm left with the task of making copper sulfate for my very first time. Now, I know what needs to be done, I just never done it before. So I guess you could say I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know quantities, how much of this and how much of that. I just know what needs to be used. So this is going to be a trial. There's no point delaying it any longer. If we don't try things, we don't learn, right? So I'll get my gloves on and my mask because I'll be using sulfuric acid. Now, what I'm told is that it needs to be diluted sulfuric acid, and rather than just putting water in there and then pouring sulfuric acid in, if any of you guys had seen my last sulfuric stripping cell, you would know that I had sulfuric acid with the gold in it, which I then tipped into water. I've kept that liquid because I was going to make, and probably still could in the future, make some poor man's nitric with it. However, I'm going to use a little bit of it now as my dilute sulfuric acid. Like I said, I don't know what quantities of anything I need to use, so I may need to top it up with sulfuric acid. But I like to recycle my acids wherever possible. Some of you would know that I've made a video on how to recycle sulfuric acid, and this is just another example of acids that I've used and will then reuse for another purpose. They're expensive, and I don't see the point in not using them as often as I can. Alright, so I'm going to get my gloves on and get sorted, and we'll get into it. Okay, so in here is my diluted sulfuric acid from my sulfuric stripping cell. I'm going to pour it in. I don't know how much I'm supposed to use, but that looks like a pretty good amount. So you're going to have to bear with me if I make mistakes. We all start somewhere. And for those of you who haven't yet worked out why I need to do this, if I dissolve the copper, then I'll be left with other precious metals that are in there. It's the only way I can think of to separate whatever precious metals are in there separate it from the copper, just to dissolve the copper. Now, to know if I do this right or not, I know what I'm looking for is a brilliant blue solution. A really nice, clear, see-through blue solution, which is dissolved copper. Now, I need to have a little bit of nitric acid as an oxidizer. Again, I've got no idea how much. I've tried to research it and not found any information on quantities, etc. So I'm going to assume that's enough. And from now on, I'm just going to top up with sulfuric acid and hope that I'm doing it right. I know that it needs to be heated, so I'm going to put this on about medium to medium high, and I'm just going to have to let that heat up. I'm a bit concerned because there's dry sediment in the bottom, and without having any moisture down there, it might break my beaker. The only thing at hand that I can find off the top of my head is some people may complain about is a spoon I got here. So I'm going to try, there we go, and mix it into the solution. These were supposed to be stainless steel spoons, but if you look at the condition of it, it's clearly not stainless, or if it is, it's not a very good quality. I can feel there's nothing stuck to the bottom now. I guess there's probably one other way that this might have been possible, is if I had put all the sediment into aqua regia, I would have ended up with a worse colour solution than that. The reason that's so green is because of copper, and there's only a tiny little bit. This would be chock-a-block full of copper. It would be just way too much, I think. I don't know. But I would rather just dissolve the copper and then separate it from the sediment left in the bottom. That should be my precious metals. So all I can do now is wait for this to heat up and monitor it, and come back soon and hopefully see some colour change. If I don't see any colour change, I'm going to assume that I need more sulfuric acid, in which case I'll add some more, and I'm just going to have to keep going like that. If this doesn't work, well, then back to the drawing board, I guess. This is what happens. You make mistakes sometimes, or you try things that don't work, or whatever. And this is what I say to people: if things like this don't work out, don't panic. You won't lose your gold. If worst comes to worst and I cannot sort this out, I'll simply tip all that into my stock pot. The gold will stay there. It can't go anywhere, and it'll be recovered again some other day. But for now, let's try this out. Let's see what happens. I'll come back once there's hopefully some colour change. Okay, so it's been on for, I'm guessing half an hour. As you can see, it's getting hot, but there's no colour change yet. So I'm going to assume that I need more sulfuric acid. Now guys, I can't stress enough how deadly this stuff is. If you really have to use it, please be careful. Take all your precautions. And remember the golden rule: always pour acid into water, never water into acid. And I'll show you how violent this stuff can get. And remember, this is hot, so it's even worse. But a tiny bit, and watch this. See? This is potent stuff. So please guys, be careful. I don't want to know about anyone getting hurt on my watch. Alright, so I'm just doing add little bits as time goes on. See what happens. I'm hoping to see it go blue. If it doesn't, then I don't know what I've done wrong. Maybe I need more nitric. Maybe I just need more sulfuric, maybe I need more water, I don't know. I'm going to add just a tiny bit more nitric, and that's the last of the nitric I'm going to put in because I don't think I need too much. I think it's mostly sulfuric acid. That's enough. So from now on I'm only going to add sulfuric. And that could be the problem. Maybe it needs a lot more nitric, but like I said before, my game here is to make copper sulfate, not copper nitrate. So we'll wait and see how this goes. Alright, so it's been another half hour, still no change. So I'm going to add some more sulfuric acid. I'm going to pour it gently down the side of the beaker, hoping to lessen the volatility of it. Just ever so slightly, gently pour it in. I don't know how much to do. I'll leave it at that for now. Eventually it's got to do something. I can't see how it's not dissolving. I might even just turn the heat up a bit more. I've got it right down because it was starting to get too hot, so I'm back to medium high. Maybe it wasn't hot enough, I don't know. There are some fumes coming off. Don't know if it's visible on camera, but I can see them. So I'm going to get away from the fumes and I'll come back later. Okay, as you can see, I've been topping it up. I didn't keep filming it because, I mean, you don't want to see me fill it and fill it and fill it 10 times or so. But all that's been happening is it's changed colour to a dark brown. It's certainly not going the blue that I expected. And I've got the heat up pretty high now. It's up to 3, 4, which is, you know, high. So I don't know what's going on. I'm going to leave it I'm going to put it down to low. So that was on 5. I'm going to put it down to 1, and I'm going to evaporate all this down so that it gives me more room to put more in tomorrow. And if I have the same problem by this time tomorrow, then I don't know, I'll probably just evaporate it all the way down to nothing and then use nitric acid, I suppose. I don't know, we'll worry about it when it comes. So, but for now I'm just going to evaporate it down and try putting more sulfuric in tomorrow. Right, come to then. Well, it's just turned into a dark mess. I have no idea what went wrong, why it didn't work, what's even dissolved, I don't know. All I know is I really wanted this to work. I really wanted a batch of copper sulfate, but them's the breaks, I guess. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to pour that into some water and then see what settles. Now that I have had on heat for 2 days, I have evaporated every bit of water out of it, and it's now back to 98% sulfuric acid. I know this because when I put some paper in there, it consumed the paper. So I can't get it to evaporate anymore. I'll carefully pour it into some water, and hopefully the gold will settle and anything else that's in there. I can't see how any of that would have been dissolved. I don't think sulfuric acid on its own or even with nitric can dissolve gold. I could be wrong. I'm hoping it's only dark from the copper, but even that doesn't make sense because that should be blue. So I have to wait and see. So I'll pour that in and hopefully something settles. Be careful because acid, bubbles and all the rest of it, you know, that acid in the water. Can't see much in the way of sediment. Let's wait and see what happens from there. Well, clearly trying to make the sulfuric acid dissolve the copper into copper sulfate was a epic fail. So I'm going to filter it and hope that there's some sediment, which would be precious metals, and then I'll deal with that when the time comes. So I'm going to filter it into here. Let this serve to show you guys that things don't always go as planned, not to be discouraged. And if anybody out there knows what I did wrong, I would love to know. I'd be interested to find out, if someone can tell me how I went wrong. And I just hope that the precious metals are still there. I don't think that they would be dissolved. I don't think that a little bit of nitric and sulfuric can dissolve them, so hopefully it's still there, but only time can tell. I'm not going to show you every single time I fill the filter, because that's just going to be boring. I'll just come back at the end when I've done all the filtering, show you if anything's there or not. Till then. Okay, so I've finally successfully finished draining all the sulfuric acid water mix. I had to go through so many filters because it kept destroying them. There's about 8 filters in that filter, in that funnel, and there's a couple in here. Even though I had diluted them, diluted the liquid, it still kept destroying the filter papers. But it's done now, and I should have whatever precious metals were left in there. Now the thing is, I don't know the best procedure from here on, so I think what I will do is wash it in hydrochloric acid to get rid of all the brown residue of the sulfuric acid. I don't think sulfuric acid is going to be very good in aqua regia, so I'm going to try my best to get all this muck into the filter, into the beaker, sorry. May have to try and upend it. I'll squirt this in with a spray bottle, and I need 2 hands for that. I'll be back within a sec. Okay, so I've got the filters in the beaker, and I'm just going to pour some hydrochloric acid in there. I'll fill it up, and I'm going to put this on heat for a little while and just continuously stir it. I'm trying to release all that brown muck residue from the PGMs and whatever else might be in there, and out of the filter papers and so on. Then I'll drain it all, and I may just use some water after that to rinse out any remaining brown liquid, and hopefully try and get down to some clean residue. But I won't tip this off into my stock pot just yet. I'll keep it in case something goes wrong and for whatever reason I need to put it all back in and start again. I'll come back when I've done that. Okay, it's been soaking now for a couple of days. I haven't been out here because of the heat, and I still don't know if putting hydrochloric acid in there was the right thing to do. Maybe I should have just used water, I don't know. But in any case, I'm going to filter it off and hope that anything left behind is precious metals. I should be able to stuff on the wall there, I'll get that off as well. I should be able to have this finished by today, hopefully. I'll get this filtered off, and then I'll put the filter straight into AR, see what happens. I may have completely ruined it, I don't know. This whole video is probably a fail from the beginning, but We'll see what happens. Okay, that's drained through. I'm just going to rinse it with some hot water. There's a lot of sludge in there. I don't know what that is. It could be the dissolved copper, or it could be a ton of precious metals. But I don't think I'll get rid of the colour anymore. I think it's going to stay that colour no matter how many times I rinse it. So I'm heading out for a couple of hours, and when I come home, I'll put that into AR and see what happens. Alright, so that's drained through. Now, I've been thinking about the possibility that this could still have a lot of copper in it. And I was going to say, nah, I'll change my mind and put some nitric acid in there to dissolve any copper. However, since I've had hydrochloric acid in here, I would have to be 100% certain that it's all out, or I risk losing the gold. So I'm just going to put it in AR, as I said before. So that's in there. There's a lot of muck in there. It can't all be precious metals, surely. I reckon there's a lot of copper. So I'm going to fill this up just enough to cover it. And put a bit of nitric in there to get it started. I'll put a bit in there now, and then I'll just do incremental later. That should be plenty for now. Give it a swirl. Might put the heat on just a little bit. I'm warm. I'll come back soon, and if I see any sediment still, I'll keep putting tiny bits of nitric in there until it's all dissolved. Well, as if enough things haven't already gone wrong, I've had a crazy boil over. And yes, I know I should have a catch pan under it, but all my catch pans are broken. These are the only two I've got left, and I use those here for solutions when they boil over. So this just goes to show everybody that things do go wrong for everybody. So if they go wrong for you, don't stress, you're not the only one. So I've cooled it down. I'll turn the heat off, let it cool down, and then try and tidy all that up, scrape it off, put it back inside, and try and recover this mess. This video is a fail from the start, but I'll keep going. So unlike other people, I don't want to hide the mistakes and errors and so on. I'll let you know that they do happen and how you recover from it. Okay, well, I cleaned out the beaker into this larger one, tipped the contents that were still in there into this one. After squirting down the beaker with the spray bottle, there was a lot of water in here. So I figured, well, my AR would be heavily diluted. So I put more hydrochloric acid and more nitric acid. And I've been adding more nitric. It's been on heat all day, and there's not a scrap of gold in solution. I am at a total loss. I have no idea what's going on. This video has been a fail from the get-go. So I'm just going to put the whole lot into my stock pot. That way I won't lose anything. If there is something in there, it'll still be there. And I could just scrap this video and none of you would ever know, but I pride myself on being real and telling it to you as it is. Part of that is showing you that it doesn't always work out. Doesn't matter how long you've been doing this for. And to give you guys that are having problems and making mistakes and not getting results a bit of encouragement to say this happens to everyone. So I'm going to call it. It's the end of the video. Sorry, I got nothing to show you, but hey, that's how it happens sometimes. And thanks for watching. I'll just stick to things I know for now, and I'll attempt this again someday, but not right now. Alright guys, thanks for that. Please like and subscribe and share my videos. I really need more subscribers. Thank you.